Okay. Hello, welcome to Cloud Thoughts, where I normally talk about cartoons, and today is another cartoon. Today is a special one. It is titled 12 Forever. It's a Netflix show, and beware now, there will be spoilers through the show. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it. So, since today is a show about a girl who turns 12 and wants to be a kid forever, and I am not a person that is a little girl that wants to be 12 forever, I have brought on my co-host and friend, Barbs. Hello. Say hi.
Hello, everyone. For the people who don't know me, I am Miss Mama Work. As you may notice by my voice, I'm not a 12-year-old girl as well. I'm not a 12-year-old girl either, but I have been a 12-year-old girl somewhere in the 90s and 2000s. Actually, in 2000 I was 12. So that is quite a weird period in its own to be growing up, but we'll see how that reflects on to a cartoon of today's standard for people who are girls and 12-year-olds.
So the first thing about the show is, like, we find out pretty immediate, is her distaste for getting older. She definitely does not like the fact that her mom's like, hey, we need to go start buying you grown-up girl products. We need to, like what her birthday present instead of toys this year was a bra, and which was kind of embarrassing because her only male friend was there, and like she only has one friend at this time, and it's a guy. And Mom, why would you do that at the party? Why wouldn't you give the present in private?
What I find interesting is that she got a bra while she didn't have breasts to start with, which is like,
Yeah.
I know her mom is a nurse and she's like, they're starting to grow, etc. Just think ahead or something. But in my time it was like, we only get you a bra when you're ready, when you have things growing there, and for the rest just wear whatever.
I mean, I guess it could have been a push-up, but who knows?
Which is kind of weird. Which is an extremely weird thing for a mom to buy her daughter a push-up bra so her breasts are getting larger. I wouldn't recommend that. If you're a mom and your daughter is going into puberty, don't give her a push-up bra, please, unless she like really wants it for some reason.
And the second thing we find out is that she is super into toys, very much so, which is, like, for her age, even at 12, like, is still pretty alright. But her mom is very worried that she's just gonna be into toys forever. It deals with that parental thing of like, hey, I want you to grow up so you can handle being an adult, and a kid being like, I don't want to grow up. Is one of the big parts in the beginning of the show. And so, like, we find out that she's also into her imagination, and finds out that she found a way to literally transport herself to a world that of imagination, it seems.
Yes.
At first, like, the first couple episodes make you believe that it's like of her own creation, and like, because a bunch of her toys are there, and also some of her like fantasy ideas that she keeps in a journal are there. So you assume at first, like, oh, this must be unique to her. And as it goes, you find out her friend can go there, and then they meet our third character, because there were three main characters in the show. But she doesn't know her, so she just kind of had the like shows up there, which is the first tip that show gives that the island isn't just for her and is for other people as well.
Yes, and there's a very, very subtle hint, spoilers, about when the Bud Witch tells that Gwen ruined the island. So the Bud Witch, that's the name of the main antagonist there, has been there for longer, and apparently it was different. So I figured that they were other people who formed the island or formed the world there as well.
Yeah, there must have been a bunch of people that helped build it, and it also hints that there are other islands, not just the one we see. But like the show handles like has a lot of things it's juggling, and like it doesn't seem like any too much thing, but it's trying to deal with the fears and anxiety of the main character about growing up. Whether it being friends, like hanging out with other people and they're not used to that, to like just aging. Because her plan is to, like, when she gets older, just to live in the island. Because you can do anything you want there.
Yes.
And so, like, at first you're like, okay. But as you start interacting with the characters more, some characters are very sane, like the two buff like couple that exists in this show.
I love them. They're my OTP.
They're like one of the best characters in the show.
They are the sanest people in that entire world. Basically, they're the most sane individuals. Actually, portraying a very healthy relationship.
Yeah, of like communication and things like that.
Yes, and forgiveness and just accepting some stuff from others. It's really healthy. It's really good. It's really, really wholesome.
But like, we don't interact with them much. I think because they're the most sane characters. But like, because everyone else like either pretends to be a little crazy or is just straight up crazy.
Yeah.
The most insane character, I forget his name. Do you remember? Like, you saw it like just recently. Do you remember his name? The one that like pours milk on him and stuff on himself all the time for some reason.
No, I do not remember by the description who you mean.
He's the one that's like, I guess like an actor, like he pretends to be all the time. He's usually yelling.
The one who has a relationship with the brother dog thingy.
Yeah, the one that also in the vent episode, his like his room is just like a TV with nothing in it.
I know who you mean. I don't remember the name, but I think he's in a great relationship with the dog-human hybrid. Yeah.
Yeah.
He is indeed.
It seems like that character, in particular, it seems like he knows a lot, and but he pretends that he's like just crazy all the time. But sometimes he'll like accidentally say something normal, and people will be like, "Hey, wait, what?" And then he'll just like get weird and like usually leave after that.
Yes.
There's it seems like the secondary characters, which is all the island inhabitants, want to try to keep people there for some reason. And so like anytime they talk about leaving, they get upset, and like there's like lore hints to the island that they'll like drop randomly, but we'll never talk about them.
But I think that's something that has to do with the episode where we see how the key got created. how Gwen created the key, because she said she especially wanted to be somewhere where she didn't have to grow up, where people loved her anyway, and never wanted her to leave. I think that was the main things that she said that she wanted to happen, and I think that is sort of working into the habit of the inhabitants, that they're just like, yeah, they don't want her to leave because she wished that they didn't want her to leave, something like that.
Yeah, a very important episode of the show, and what makes you wonder a lot about the island is it. There's an episode where springtime comes, and they all like manage to tell their parents that they're doing something that they're not
Mm-hmm.
doing, uh, and they like plan to stay in the imaginary world for 2 weeks straight. Uh, and but unfortunately, the main character can't because she like punctures her
No,
lung,
she
I think
ripped
it
her
was,
appendix.
or liver,
So her appendix
rips her
burst,
appendix.
which is quite kind of a very, very difficult thing to ignore.
Yeah, so like she unfortunately can't do it, and like and she gets this one is something that carries through out the rest of the show. Is she gets
Mm-hmm.
upset because her friends say they'll come visit, and then they don't, only because like once you're in the imaginary world for an extended period of time, you start going crazy. You start like losing yourself.
Yes, and there is no way to tell the time because there is no night, and there is so the watches don't work.
Yeah, so like, and like, it seems like you yourself lose context of time when you're in
Well,
there, because there'll be
yeah,
time.
the most interesting thing that I thought about that episode was that they seem to lose things about themselves. So So Todd was like, "Oh, I read that book about the poet you liked," and she was like, "Oh, who is that person?" And that was really weird. And Esther, which is the third main character, was like, "Hey, what about the twins?" And Todd was like, "Whose twins are those?" And they're his sisters. And it was really, really weird that they forgot about that. So they really lost things about
It,
themselves, actually.
yeah, it seems like you just lose all sense of yourself and your sanity as you just like focus on having a good time, and like that's it. That's like
Yes.
all that
Yes.
happens. Uh, and eventually, like the main character shows up and realizes they're going crazy and pulls them out of there. And they're just like, you know what? We're gonna take a break from that. But the main character is like, but I didn't get to do it. I didn't get to see you guys. I didn't get to have fun. And they're like, we literally went crazy, so I don't know why you're upset with us. Because it was out of our control.
Yes.
There's a lot of some of the best episodes are actually outside of the imaginary world, where like you see normal teenager stuff like crushes and like school stuff. You find out that like if the main character is also dealing with the fact that she's possibly gay, so
Yeah.
like she has a crush on this older girl, and like but runs away from it every chance she
Yes.
gets,
Yes,
because she doesn't
it is very
understand.
difficult to confuse her crush for like adoration because it's really, really thick on there.
Yeah, and like she's the weird kid, so there's also that part of her that like probably thinks, oh, I can't hang out with this cool person. I'm a kid. I'm like younger than her, and I'm the weird kid. She has a very hard time getting over just having fun because that's all she
Yes.
wants. So like even at school, she'll like play with action figures, and like try to be detached from reality as much as she can, just because of that. And she's also unfortunately very controlling about her friends.
Yes.
She doesn't want to lose her friends, but anytime people try to talk with them, she like pretty rudely sometimes like pulls them away from other people.
It actually made me not like Gwen. I don't like her as the main protagonist. When I was a young girl, when I was 12, I was way more like Esther. The other girl, I was way more like her, and so I could really like associate with her. But Gwen is such a nasty piece sometimes, and I really don't want to be like her or want to understand her that way, because she is so demanding and so full of herself for quite a lot of episodes. Well, in the end, you see that she is actually very insecure, but she comes over as very full of herself and demanding and controlling, and that's just not something that I would like to see in a 12-year-old protagonist.
It seems like she's just dealing, and like the main problem, like I'll get out of the way right now with her character as well, is there's nothing that makes you understand why she feels like she needs to control stuff. Because like at home, she like her mom's gone like 75% of the time, so like she gets to do what she wants to do at home.
Yes.
The only thing that her mom says is just like you need to like be better about growing up and not be afraid to get rid of your toys. And so like the need to control things seems to not stem from anything.
Yes, true.
I mean, there's no dad, and like they like talked about it in one episode.
Yes, they touched upon it in one episode, and then Dad was gone again from the radar. It was like, nah, not very important that he's gone.
Yeah, like she was like young when he left and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I like her design a lot. Like the way she looks aesthetically is pretty cool. I like her out of her. By the way, I should probably bring it up now. Everyone in the magical world looks a little different than they do in real life, and they each have powers.
Yes.
The boy main character, what's his name again?
Todd.
I totally forgot.
Todd.
What's it? Todd? Yeah, Todd's main character is like he can just like shift into stuff, like change into different things.
Yeah, mainly into water animals. Like whales and walruses and crabs and stuff. Very specific.
And then the Esther can like what does she does? She like rides on a thing.
Yeah.
And is that it?
And she
rides on
and
something?
she can summon a light lasso or something.
Yeah. And then our main character, our good edgy girl, is like the best. So I think she's like strong, like super strong, and pretty fast. I think that like she has this OP main character like superpowers pretty much.
Yes, indeed.
But like I don't know why they gave them powers, because they like rarely ever use them in the show.
Actually, they use them a lot, but for no reason at all besides having fun.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. They use it for like weird kid fun stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, sometimes the stuff they do, I'm just like, why are you doing that though?
That's the whole show.
There's a whole,
That's the whole show.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that?
There's like one time when they're watching TV in the like imaginary world, and I'm like, why are you doing this here?
Yeah.
You have houses. It's like, is TV different there? I mean,
And it's not like they're living far away from each other. It's not like you and me. Like I live in the Netherlands and you live in America.
yeah,
Then it would be like logical if they meet each other in a magical world. But they usually just visit each other and go to the mall together, etc. So and they are at the same school, so they should be able to visit each other in the normal world as well.
yeah. The writers seem to use that imaginary world as an escape world that like all the other characters besides the main one are growing out of. Because like Todd is maturing and like realizing what he wants to do with his
Yes.
life and deciding on a career path and taking steps to head towards that career path.
Yes.
He's a very edgy 13-year-old boy with that is usually the voice of reason in the show.
Well, Esther is a lot of reason as well. She is way more mature than the rest, but she just wants to have some more fun. I think because of her controlling parents.
Yeah,
And because she's kind
which
of
is why-
lonely, she's like, oh, let's be friends and, let's just have fun. But she just gets, like, trampled by Gwen, who's just like, no, the fact that you said this thing that's very logical is too boring, let's do something fun.
Yeah, like there'll be times when they have work assignments together at school, and they'll be like, "Hey, let's do our work, and then we can go play and have a good time." And she's just like, and then the main character's just like, "Nah, let's not do that. Let's play the whole time."
Yes. Gwen is, even for a 12-year-old,
not
she
fun.
can be very childish.
Yeah, like, and it's not like people aren't calling her out. Like that latter half of the season is her friends calling her
Yes.
out for it. There's like, you haven't been a good friend. You've just been controlling and mad at us for no reason.
Yes.
Because like Esther is definitely on a career path for science. Like, she is very smart. It's possible that like, I don't know if they're in high school. I think they're in middle school.
Yeah, they're
But-
just starting. Because, 12, 13-year-olds are just starting.
Yeah. And so like, yeah, they're just starting high school, and like, Esther definitely has a career in like science. She's very smart
Yes.
and very mathematical as well, and like, there'll be sometimes where like the only way out of something is to think about it logically, and then sometimes the answer is nonsensical in the imaginary world.
It truly is, yeah.
I think Esther has sometimes been like, well, that was traumatizing.
Yes. It was really traumatizing sometimes, indeed.
They're just, it's hard to explain, but there are just situations in that show that are just like weird. That just weird shit will happen. And you're just like, what?
Yes.
What just happened?
It's for everyone who still wants to see the show. If you haven't seen the show, it's it's the Netflix show 12 Forever. We just iterated again. It is a roller coaster of what the fuckery for sure. Where you really have to sit and go right through it. If you blink, you miss something, and then you're even more in the dark, like, I don't know what's going on. It is a real train wreck sometimes, a real chaos, but it has really nice themes and ideas as well, which is the main thing that I got out of it. It has a lot of themes that I liked, and some characters really are like interesting that I wanted to have explored more. And
Yeah,
yeah,
the big downfall of the show is that like it built. There's a lot of foreshadowing in this
yes,
show. That because they expected to have more seasons than they did. Unfortunately, it's a one season show and they're not getting another one.
yeah,
Uh, unfortunately, that's a problem because you got to make sure you have more show before you build up more show. Because like
indeed.
when you finish the season, you're like, okay, where's more? Because you have all these themes and ideas that I'm excited to see that never happened.
True. And something that also was interesting was that there are parts there that I was like, is this for children? This looks more like it is for grown-ups, which is probably the reason why it didn't get a second season. Because there were things that I'm like,
it had theming issues.
this is not for kids. This is going a bit too far for like 12-year-olds.
But like they never. I think if they would have attacked it from the adult angle alone. Like if they would have made this show about a girl growing up, but had it be more adult from the get go, it would have. I think it would have gotten another season. But unfortunately, they marketed it towards both.
Yes.
But went too heavy on like stuff that only adults would pick up on. This is like a lot of the character interaction and foreshadowing and stuff is through like talk where if you're an adult you're like, oh, that's what's happening.
Yes.
But like kids don't get it. Like another big episode is the episode where they decide to try to teach the inhabitants of the island. And like and then one character that like is a nothing character just drops this big bomb of like we're not supposed to be doing this. We're supposed to be blah blah blah. And they're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And he's like, nothing. Eating books. Whoa.
Yes.
One of them like straight up like says they know about like the stuff they're getting taught, and like they'll be like, wait, how do you know that? And they'll be like, no, I'm gonna pretend to eat this book now.
Yes, I'm going to pretend that something is not that important. Also creates the feeling of things just going haphazardly, any direction, whatever.
Yeah.
Which was my feeling with the first episode, actually. The first episode just throws you into the deep, and you just have to go like, wait, what's happening? What? I don't know. What's going on? What's this world? Where did they go? How did they get there? I have no clue. What's with the thing? What's with that? How are these things coming alive? Oh, so the ground is making people come alive. So they did this before. Oh no. And then it's like, what? And then that's the first episode.
Yeah. There's a lot.
It's a lot to take in, and you actually have to grow into the entire world. They throw you in so hard that you actually need to paddle for a couple of episodes before you can even understand how things work. If there are rules in that world.
Barb's very gracefully watched the show after I explained I need someone to help. And by episode, she messaged me on episode 2, like, what is happening?
Yes. What on earth is happening
You seem very
here?
like you seem very much like, why are we talking about this show? And I was just like, shh, you'll see. Uh, it's very interesting.
Yes.
Thankfully, I like that I do ramble videos because they're not a lot of point. But like in this show, just like it's just weird, man. It's just so like there. I want to know more, but like there's such surface level in one season
Yes.
that I just don't know.
Yes.
Like we never get her like the main character's redemption from being a shitty friend. We never get that really because like okay, so one of the last episodes is a birthday party thrown for Todd.
Yes.
And like at first like it was going to be in the imaginary world because they were planning it. And he was like, I want to bring my girlfriend to the imaginary world.
Mm-hmm.
To introduce her to everybody because she's a part of my life and I want her to share that part of me. And our main character decides, no, I don't want her to come. And you're just because she's jealous that Todd has more friends now.
Yes. Well, she's jealous that Todd is basically coming up for himself instead of just following her.
She wants him all to himself
Yes.
and is scared that she'll get left behind, not realizing the way she's acting is the way that will make people not want to be around you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, everybody, 12-year-olds, listen to me real quickly. Don't do this. Don't do this terrible thing. Let people have lives. I know it gets a little scary sometimes when your best friend is hanging out with someone else more than you. But like your friend, if he's your friend, will always make time for you.
Yes.
Chill. Like you can't do that. Like the main character, like I like her design, but like her herself is pretty like hard to like always be down to watch.
Yes.
Just because she's not great. She treats Esther in particular like shit.
Well, one thing that which is maybe interesting, if Gwen was a guy, would it be different? As in, like, her character, because she is very tomboyish. But how would we look at the character if Gwen was actually George or something? Because I think they made a character that was supposed to be a boy, and then afterwards they were like, no, make her a girl. Make this character a girl, because then we can get the butt witch in there and it's not sexual.
Yeah.
We can do things about growing up and stuff, because there are a lot of cartoons about guys growing up and they have the same kind of characteristics. They want to like control others, they want to be the strongest, they want to be protective of their friends, and we just acknowledge that at like normal boys will be boys kind of characteristics. But now it's a girl who has those characteristics, and I think that is also rubbing a bit the wrong way, because we are not supposed to have those characteristics as girls. Basically, we're supposed to be more like Esther. Especially in my time, in the 2000s, when I was growing up, we were supposed to be like Esther, just be obedient. Yeah, you can have a little bit of fun, but try to be nice and kind and like dresses and do all the kind of stuff. And now Gwen is just so tomboyish, so different from what I had to be when I was growing up, basically.
Yeah, it's like, but it's also that like, but I'm different, so aren't I quirky? Kind of shit as well.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, where it's like she's so anti everything, it gets a little annoying.
It is,
Uh,
yes.
like I am all for like not being a girly girl, not wanting to wear dresses, and not want like all that stuff. I'm fine with that. Like that makes sense to me, and like that's you. You do
Mm-hmm.
you. But like when it comes to like, I don't want to wear dresses, but I also and I don't want to give up being a kid. But I will be act like a kid in the obvious wrong scenarios to act like a
Mm-hmm.
child. Like at school, like as much as you can be a kid with your friends and stuff, why are you bringing your action figures to play with in the middle of class, man?
Yes.
I don't know a kid that's ever done that. Like besides like kindergarten
Yeah, I think that
or
was
like first
also a
grade.
big fault in her character. She was a bit too childish to be actually 12. Having action figures, dolls, whatever, okay, but you you keep that shit at home. That's for sure.
Because like it'd be different if she doesn't care what people think, but she obviously does.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, then why are you sabotaging yourself?
I also think that was in the episode where they went back when she made the totem or the key to get there. Um, she was going to high school for the first time, I guess, and she got very negative feedback to all her childish behavior, which, you know, is not the best thing to acknowledge, but whatever. It is true that if you act differently, you are likely to get like teased, pestered, etc. And she was
Hmm.
really, really crestfallen over that. But she got taught as a friend, and from that moment, for some reason, she grew into this like from this shy little girl into this demanding, controlling being that she was when she was 12, which is not something that I'm like that. Nah. And she should have known that taking action figures to school when you're 12 is not something that other people would appreciate. Just like a thing.
Like, I get it to a certain extent, just cause uh, like having hobbies that you're afraid to share with other people, uh, can be like crazy. It can be a little hard,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just like, man, I, uh, I really like doing this thing, but it's but I don't think anyone's gonna be into it, which is normal. Like we all have interests that we're afraid that other people aren't into,
Yes.
and we also have interests that it's just no one's into. We don't have to share it with people, but like you can like bring up like your interests of like I actually like to I actually have still my childhood toys and I still like playing with them.
Mm-hmm.
You can bring that up, but and like and stuff, but like don't bring them to school if you don't want to get me if you don't want people to judge you for it.
Yes.
Like I like there are plenty of people who collect and cherish their childhood toys, and people who collect toys now, and things like that. It's also like her believing that she herself is so different from every human being ever that like there's no one that could possibly understand,
Yeah.
and like she's not the most unique human on planet Earth. Yeah, like she believes she is.
No. Well, she's not the most unique person. She is not like most special, even though she wants to be. I still don't know why she wants to be the most special person because, like, it's not. Maybe it has to do with the father leaving, but she has also have like an older brother and her mother, who's very supportive, I think, and tries to get her daughter into the more grown up world. You, so and I think that has to do with the theme. I mean, 12 Forever says it all. It is a theme in the entire series that she doesn't want to grow up. And if your protagonist doesn't want to grow up, basically has like a Peter Pan complex, she doesn't want to grow up, then the
Yeah.
antagonist is basically learning, having a learning curve and growing up. It's a bit
Yeah,
of a
exactly.
problem.
Yeah, like I think if the show would have gone on, it would have like eventually molded her into somebody that understands that imagination isn't everything. Growing up can be both can be fun,
Yes.
and like you know everyone is growing up. Trust me, like it's a little annoying at first, but you do get the hang of it. You do go, oh, this is nice. Uh, when you're an adult, you can do whatever you want, buy whatever you want. Uh, you know, and enjoy things a little bit differently than when you were 12.
Yes.
Um,
But I
and
have
like,
to say, when you're 12, you don't see it because we have forgotten a bit
yeah,
about how we thought when we were 12. But you really don't see. You only know you want to grow up because as a 12-year-old, there are a lot of things you cannot do. Like you cannot
yeah,
stay up for whatever time you want. You cannot see certain movies even if you want to. You cannot do certain things that grown-ups can do. That's the only reason when you want to grow up. But she has this whole world where she can do whatever. So basically she doesn't even have to grow up in that respect.
yeah. And like, we haven't mentioned this till now, but there is like characters that will show up that have been on the island
Mm-hmm.
before. There's a kid that shows up that like you find out. Oh, I used to be a normal person, but then I in the 50s it seems like it
Yes.
was he got put into he went to the island after his mom passed,
Yeah, his mom.
like something like
Yeah,
that.
his mom died and he was in the orphanage, and I don't know how he got there, but yeah, I understand that if you're a kid in the 50s and you're in our orphanage, you much rather want to be on that world in that world.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yes.
But like, so yeah, he goes and lives in the world and like loses his mind and then at some point regains it to at least a certain extent
Yes.
where he but then he just collects stuff
No, he
and
do-
from other
he
islands, which
doesn't
is
collect. He steals. That's something different.
sea steel. That's yeah. Unfortunately, he steals the wrong thing, and someone comes after
Yes.
him, and now he's gone.
Yeah.
But like his body was just like can come apart, I believe.
I think he looked a
Uh,
bit like those early action figures or Barbie dolls, where if you pull too hard, the limbs would come off, but you could always pop them back in. I think that was the thing
yeah,
about him.
yeah, it's very weird.
Mhm. Hell,
So,
yeah.
basically, this what's happening? Uh, basically, this show is very interesting. I highly suggest watching it, uh, but be aware that it is one season, uh, and which is kind of unfortunate
Mm-hmm.
because I would have liked to see more, uh, and known more about
Yes.
everything.
I
But
Yeah, I
unfortunately,
actually want to have a more like a Toy Story ending, Toy Story 3, where Gwen was like, "Okay, I'm ready to grow up and I'm going to leave this behind for the next person who wants to have fun or something."
yeah,
Also, Cloud, when are we going to talk about the
Yeah.
butt witch?
Oh yeah. Okay, so but which seems to be um like her manifestation of like not wanting to grow up and not wanting to like she has some fear about growing a body like that, I think,
Yes.
or resents people that look like that. It's something like that. It's something weird like that. Um, but you, what do you think of her?
Well, when the butt witch, like, we don't have like a real name for her, but Gwen calls her the butt witch, which is because she's thick as fuck.
She is.
Because she's really thick. She has like an hourglass figure, has a body fitting suit on, and a big smile. Oh, but by the way, she has the voice of a man. So that is very
Yeah,
confusing, but I love that voice anyway. So I love that combination. Um, when she first arrived in the show, I was very confused. Um, like, why does it manifest in that way, and why is it so hostile? Um, because yeah, she's the antagonist, and she's like, "What have these kids done to my perfect world?" or something. And I'm like,
yeah,
well, we never see how her world was and how it got sort of, in her eyes, corrupted by the kids. I thought that would be like very interesting to see how she would see the world, how she would like that one. But she got very angry, and she's sort of flying spider like thingy. Uh, and
yeah,
then she loses the wings and the extra limbs, and then she's this thick grown up woman who's being just a witch with green skin. just
yeah.
just being an annoyance, trying to get rid of Gwen, and being like, yeah, just grow up and be boring like me or something. Um, to be honest, I like her. I like the Butt Witch, but more because of the design and the voice.
Yeah.
She's a bit pity. But I like the voice and the design, and I'm like, ooh, if
I like that she has a minion that like is in love with her.
yes, the minion is called Big Deal, and I wasn't aware of that until later in the show. Because they were sometimes saying, "Oh, Big Deal," and I'm like, "What?" But his name is actually Big Deal, which I thought was kind
Yeah,
of funny.
and like it has the imagination of like of characters like Adventure Time does,
Hmm.
with its weird creatures, but like I don't know, 95% of the time, the imagination world, as interesting as it is, like lore wise, and interesting as it is when they interact with it, like it's not as fun as when the real world stuff is happening.
Hmm.
Just because like it's just like there's an episode where like she doesn't want to clean things anymore. The main character does not want to clean stuff,
Hmm.
and it's just like I'm gonna be dirty, and then all her dirty stuff gets sent to one area in the uh, imagination
Hmm.
world, and it and her dirtiness manifests into a monster. Uh, and just like like there's lesson stuff like that where I guess I should learn to clean more, and it's just like yeah, you should clean yourself and your room. Hello?
It is a
What?
lesson for someone.
Yeah, yeah. Like I know I remember being a kid and being very much anti anti that stuff just because like you're a kid and you, like that takes away from doing things like playing and games and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
On the other hand,
but
Todd and Esther just do clean. It's not like they're Todd and Esther are like, oh yeah, Gwen, just go ahead, just keep it dirty, just keep playing. They are way more mature than Gwen, way more mature.
yeah, they're like, why is this a problem? And then she's like, it's a problem because I don't want to do it. And they're like, yeah, but why?
Yeah.
And like she acts like she's like, the problem is they throw them into a high school setting, but the main character doesn't act like she's in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's the main deal of it. But if you were just gonna do this, then why didn't you throw them in middle school?
Mm-hmm.
Like that would have been like better for the character. But like, because when you get to high school, I remember it being like you get into the culture of high school. Even if you're the lonely kid, you still get involved with high school.
Mm-hmm.
And then like after a minute, you like you're low. You want to be more mature because you like have this the inflated self-worth of, well, I'm a cool high schooler now. Like, you know, like because you're a kid and you think high school's the bee's knees for no reason.
Well, all the popular guys and girls are, of course, high schoolers, who are just a bit older than you, and you have to be like them to, you know, be cool later on. So that's why you want to act more mature as well.
Yeah, so like it's just like from what I remember from being the young boy and in school is like you grow out of that stuff, not just because like you get taught a life lesson of how cleaning up is good, but because you just go, oh man, I don't want to be in a dirty room anymore.
Well, I had
Yeah,
I was of course we have cultural differences as well, but I also had thing that I grew up very, very spoiled. It's not like we had a butler or something, but my mom basically cleaned up everything for me. She would be like, clean up your room, and then I would just move things around, and she would say, oh yeah, it's cleaned up. And that's okay.
Sick under the bed tossed.
Well, yeah, or just like get the books off the ground, off the floor, onto the bed, or get the books onto a shelf, not doing anything else. And just, you know, then go on with whatever you were doing. In my case, it was a lot of reading, writing, and drawing at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it
for me, it's
very
already 20 years ago that I was 12. 20 long years ago that I was 12.
20 long years.
Very, very long years. But I do remember that the main thing that I had to learn, just you know, as a 12-year-old girl, the main thing I had to learn was actually making homework, because I was such a gifted kid at elementary school until the age of 11 that I never had to do homework. The way they taught classes in the Netherlands was that they just rehearsed everything that we had to do the day before. And I was like, yeah, I remember that. And I just got like straight A's on my report. They didn't do that at secondary, at middle school, at high school. And then I suddenly failed all my classes. So I had to do homework. It was weird. It was completely weird, and I actually had to learn as a 12-year-old how to do homework. was really weird for me. Really weird idea
I
that, out of school you actually have to do work as well. Whoa, that is insane. Why on earth would you do that?
I just realized they have not done an episode about her not doing well in school,
Mm-hmm.
which is weird. I think because I don't think she'd be a good student. She doesn't seem like she doesn't pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
Or they never talk about that,
Yeah.
which is actually kind of weird for a show that takes place in school about a kid that doesn't want to grow up and doesn't pay attention.
Yeah.
They could have easily done an episode about her getting in trouble with the principal and then not being able to do something for a week.
Yeah.
But what are they going to do? Ground her?
Yeah.
So we'll just go to the imaginary world.
Yes. I think because the producers thought there will be more episodes, there will be more seasons, they rushed through things. They rushed through the entire dynamic between her and her older brother. I don't know his name even. They did one episode where they focused on Gwen's brother, that they made a special videos when they were younger. Yeah. That's the only thing you hear. For the rest, they're just, that brother is just an asshole.
But like,
an edgy teen asshole, that guy.
But also, like, she was kind of like she twists it to make you feel like, oh, I'm sad for a legitimate reason because you act so cool now and we never hang out anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, he does a podcast. So.
Yeah, yes. but he does a podcast about conspiracies,
which is no beef with the conspiracy theorists, but
yeah,
come on. But like, and she spins it to be like, we never hang out anymore. We used to hang out all the time, and I'm just like, yeah, but to be fair, like, you're not even trying to like want to do something that aligns with his interests. You just want to be able to scream into his microphone while he does his podcast.
Yeah.
I'd be pissed too. I'm just like, don't scream into this mic. I don't want to edit your scream out.
And I also thought that part of the show was actually way too mature for Gwen's personality, actually, because which 12-year-old is reminiscing about the good old times via, I thought it was like an old video old video camera thingy, like a very old video camera.
Yeah.
When I was 12, I wasn't being like, oh, let's look at all the things I did when I was 4. No, I'm not gonna do that. That's lame. Even I thought that was
that's
lame. I only got
one that's lame.
Yeah, I only got into
two,
like reminiscing the good old days when I was 19 or something.
Yeah, like, she's not old enough to reminisce, like, because when you're 12, all you think about is what, like, the now, not like what's ahead of me.
Yeah,
like,
so that was kind of different from her entire personality. So they wanted to shovel in the brother sister relationship, but they did it in a very weird way. But yeah, so that was a thing. They rushed over the entire "I don't want to grow up" thing, even though it actually needed to be the entire show.
Because that's the whole point of the show. Like,
Yeah.
she'll randomly bring it up. She randomly goes, "Oh, I'm just gonna live here," and then was mentioned after the episode where her friends go crazy.
Yeah.
And he was like, remember what happened when we were in here for a long period of time? And she's just like, that won't happen to me.
Yeah. So brush it off, and then the other episodes it's like, nah, never happened. If I went insane and then got back, I wouldn't go into there for a long time
Oh yeah.
because that thing is scary.
Like, I think if the show would have gone on, at one point, the friends would have been like, I'm done going. Something
Yeah.
would have happened that was like dangerous or too much for them, and they would have been like, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Esther, actually, like, the main character bullies Esther a lot because anytime she tries to like go against anything, she uses the fact that that Esther and her are like the only friends that Esther has.
Mm-hmm.
That she'll use that against her
Yes.
all the time.
It does. Yeah.
Esther's like, I don't want to lose you as a friend, but you keep controlling whatever I want to do. Shutting down her ideas all the time.
Yeah, it's really sad actually.
They got a prom once, and Esther's having a really good time, but because the main character's not, she's like, come on, Esther, let's go.
Yeah, that was very sad. I didn't like that episode. It was very sad.
Yeah, it's just like, because she's only uncomfortable because she doesn't understand why she feels feelings for this girl.
Mm-hmm.
And they never outright talk about it. It's more like she blushes and goes into a panic every time this girl's around.
Also, I find it very weird that she is so like, how can I be in love with a girl I cannot be while she has two main gay OTP friends in the fantasy world?
I'm surprised she hasn't talked to them about it.
Yeah.
But they don't. I really wish those two characters were around more, just because I'm sure they would tell like the characters the secrets about this island. They would just ask because they don't seem like they have much stake in the island itself.
Yeah.
They're also very wise.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
So the thing that I want to credit the show about is the LGBT prominence in there.
Yeah, they're really good representation.
They did some really healthy relationships in there among like Clouds and my OTP. I don't even know their names, but they were like pro wrestlers, or were they like bodybuilders?
Yeah, something like that. They were strong men for
They
sure.
were very strong men, and they're just the cutest gay couple ever. I love them. They even have flaws, and they are like, I don't like things, but they just solve things in a mature way, basically in the way that Gwen doesn't want to, and that's I don't know. I want a series about them, basically.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, let's talk about our problems and work it out.
Yeah.
And like, the reason why shows don't do that with the main characters is because then there's no conflict. But me personally, I like seeing that resolution, and like seeing when shows aren't afraid to be like, here's this big conflict, but let's just talk it out instead of doing the like half a season, I'm mad at you.
Mm-hmm.
Which some shows that I've talked about on here have done. She-Ra's done it before.
Yes.
And Voltron's done it before.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's a very simple thing to be like, no, let's just sit down for a second and discuss this.
Yeah.
She just has abandonment issues. I guess it's because of her dad, but like, she wasn't even old enough to like to process the fact that her dad left.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it might stem from that, but like, I don't know for sure.
No.
I
Because
would
it's
think the
glossed
brother
over.
would have.
We are not sure because it is glossed over. There's only one episode where they mention that the dad is gone.
And I don't know if he's dead or if he just left. I think he just left.
As far as I know, because I have the whole show in my memory, of course. Her mom says that he couldn't handle responsibility of dealing with children, even though she had like an older brother. So he left.
What?
He left the mom. So I'm pretty sure he's still alive.
Oh, and before you ask about, well, maybe there's two different dads. The mom doesn't. Does the mom have red hair?
Yeah,
I think she has brown hair actually.
yeah. The mom has red
There's-
hair, so like everyone has red hair.
Red hair, yeah. And like, they just it doesn't seem like it because it seems like the older brother is just like 2 years older, maybe.
Mhm.
So like, I think they have the same dad. So it's just like, obviously you could handle kids if you had a son.
Yeah. That's why I was like, that's a bit of a weird reason to leave, but okay.
Also, she's a terrible babysitter.
Mhm.
Do you remember the babysitter episode?
Yeah. Another thing. Yeah. So the babysitter and what's the name again? The brown. That animal that's a real fan of Gwen that she got when she was 3 or something. Brown something something. That I don't know why that brown thing has like such a hate for Todd because you know Todd is just a friend. He's not even in love with Gwen, which is certainly a plus for the show, by the way, that he is falling in love
Yeah.
with someone else except the main protagonists. That's a real big plus. But why the brown puppet is so anti-Todd, I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing.
I think it's because before Todd, he was Todd's her best friend,
Mm-hmm.
and so he's just jealous. But I think, man, it's just hard to say where the show is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
But I think not Esther. I forget. I always forget the main character's name.
Mm-hmm.
And the main character's like selfishness is just going to probably keep building throughout the show until like it came to a boiling point where they were like, "You need to stop." Is probably what it was getting, because it was getting to that at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Her selfishness over Todd made Todd go, "You need to make a decision here. Like, you can't. If you want to be my friend, but you can't be the only person in my life.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta accept that."
Yeah.
By the way, what do they call imaginary world? They call it something.
Wasn't never ending or something? Was the world never ending?
Something like that.
I think it was never ending, yeah.
Like, it seems like they had such grand ideas for the show that never paid off.
It was also very heavily inspired by Adventure Time.
Yeah.
That is for sure. If you like Adventure Time, you might like 12 Forever, but just be advised that this just starts out like, what a motherfuckery is this?
Yeah, as you can tell by our talking and rambling about this show, it's really hard to talk about all of it just because there's so much in one season. And
Yes.
like, by the way, the artwork, which we haven't talked about, is actually pretty good. Everything's real pointy. Like, there's no like real, like, on the main characters, their heads are all like the main character's head's like flat at the top,
Mm-hmm.
and pointy. She's very pointy, and everything else isn't actually. Wait a minute, that's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so the art style's not bad. It draws you in, and like it looks really cool on screen. The oddly enough, the Imagination Land isn't that great to like as cool as you think Imagination World would be. There's a lot of like grass plains that they use for shots that have just like weird looking trees in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they'll be like on a giant cassette tape or something like they'll like do weird things like that. Sometimes some of the houses will look really weird, but they don't do like too much crazy stuff with the Imagination.
Yeah, it could be crazier, but to be fair, I think they mainly were focusing on the characters.
Yeah, and like Todd has a good arc in this show
Yes.
of discovering his love for music and like deciding that that's what he wants to do is like music. And it's really, and like he joins a band, gets a girlfriend, because those 13-year-old relationships, they're gonna last
Forever.
forever. I mean, sometimes they do. There's very rare instances, but sometimes they do.
True.
But like, and like just discovers more of himself, which is really cool. And which ironically makes the main character upset. The more about himself he realizes, the more she gets upset.
Yes. And the last thing maybe we should talk about is how they solve the issue with being upset, because I was very surprised that those worms suddenly appeared. Because they were fighting like before, but suddenly, because I think it started when Todd said, I wish you would grow up, to Gwen, the main character, and suddenly there was a worm flying out. And that was basically the main reason why the Bot Witch was gaining strength and becoming more powerful.
So, anytime they say something negative,
yeah,
in that world, they barf out worms of negativity, and then the Butt Witch eats them.
Yeah, the Butt Witch really likes them. She really likes those worms. But it's the thing. It basically teaches. It gives off a vibe that it teaches you that you cannot make. You cannot speak your mind in front of your friends. Even when you're so fed up with them that you're like, I really need to solve this. And Todd has been talking to Gwen for many episodes, for many days, for many hours, and she just ignores all of his advice and his worries and whatever. And he is so fed up that he basically tells her, like, really, you're so childish, just grow up. And that's apparently bad in this show. And the fact that Esther is coming up for herself, making Gwen upset, is also bad, because they are getting these worms. So that I didn't like that lesson that they tried to get in there.
Like, you gotta speak your mind to your friend.
Yeah.
You gotta let your friends know, like, because that's part of being a friend, is to be like, dude, you need to stop.
Yes, and of course, it's much better if you can say it in a neutral tone and be like our gay OTPs and be like, I wish you would da 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 da. But Gwen is such a stubborn girl that she doesn't listen to those kind of words. So you have to intervene, and that intervention idea, where you just basically stand up for yourself, that was considered as something bad, something that that actually created the problem. That was a bit of a worrying thing, I think.
Yeah, because that probably was one of the reasons why it got canceled. Besides the budgetary reasons, is like the main conflict, like stems from they're mad at each other, and it's like, well, friends fight
Yeah.
for one, and two, like she's horrible. She's not listening to anybody. She's like using her friends, like really using them, and like wanting her only cares about what she wants in life and what she wants
Yes.
to do, and what she wants to do could possibly involve her going actually crazy.
Yeah.
So her friends are like, "Don't do this. This is dumb." Like, I don't know how I would have turned out if I could just vanish to an imaginary world every time I got upset with the world and my family. But like, not this way. That's dumb. Don't ignore your friends and their worries about you just because growing up is hard.
Yes.
I don't want to grow up. Too bad. Time moves forward.
Yeah.
Like,
So, and what did you think about the last episode? How they resolved everything?
I mean, they kind of talked about it, and then instead of celebrating in the imaginary world Todd's birthday, they do it at Todd's house, and they make it seem like they're Esther, not Esther, the main character,
Gwen.
kind of learned Gwen learned a lesson a bit and is gonna make efforts to be a little better. But we don't know because we don't see the next episodes.
Nah.
We don't see what happens next because it would have been at least another 2 seasons by this point.
Yeah, I think
it was
so.
a 2017 show.
Yeah, but
Or 2018 show.
what I also wanted to talk about was the way they resolved the issue was basically because the Butt Witch came into action, and the Butt Witch was very powerful because she ate all those worms. And Gwen was
Yes.
like, "Oh no, I'm getting defeated. I wish my friends were here." And the friends were like, "Okay, we're here again." And then everything was resolved. It was like, I'm sorry, and nothing changed in that little time. And then friendship of magic started. Basically,
Yep.
they got this magic pink shield, and the pink shield shattered, and then all the magical people on Neverending got big and muscular, and they beat up the Butt Witch. And I'm like, what? This is new?
Like, I think it just tries to tackle too many topics at once.
Yes.
And gets muddled on what it wants to focus on in a season. This season was made to set up future seasons.
True.
And there is no future seasons.
No.
So, like, if you want to focus on, like, the friend dynamic, then I would have just done, like, how I would have ended the conflict has been like, don't worry, Gwen, we're friends, but you can't keep doing things the way you've been doing it. You can't, like, setting boundaries, the important thing.
Yes.
Because when you're just a kid, you don't need to set boundaries because you're 11 and 10 and 9 and what are boundaries. But once you're like a teenager, right, or a preteen in Gwen's case, then boundaries need to be set, need to be made more aware of. Some of them are spoken boundaries, and some of them are unspoken boundaries.
Yes.
And like, but if like someone like Gwen, you gotta be clear on. You gotta be like, hey, so you have to let me have a life outside of you. You have to be okay with the fact I have other friends and important people in your life. And you gotta be okay with the fact that you're not the most important person to me.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, that's what she's gonna. That's how she is. She wants every person that comes in contact with her to value her over everybody else,
Indeed.
and that's unfortunate.
It
It
is.
it sucks that that's our main character, but that's our main character.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that just doesn't get it. Anyway, alright, so I would say this show, if I had to rate this show, it'd be like I'm gonna say 6 out of 10, just because unfortunately it was cut short, and there are just a lot of things that, especially with the main character, that made me go,
Yeah.
What about you?
I think 6 out of 10 as well. The style was nice. It reminded me of Adventure Time, which Adventure Time was really unique for its time. So I think it's based upon the idea of Adventure Time, but it went way overboard with the amount of characters, with the amount of insanity basically going on, and not focusing on character arcs, and having a main character that is actually not really that nice to be around, and just not learning enough in those 25 episodes there are. I want to know more about maybe the lore, have less characters to worry about. Uh, I mean, insanity is okay, but you can overdo it a bit. And this one really was a big roller coaster or whatever. um,
Yeah,
yeah, so I would rate this a 6 out of 10 as well.
alright. Well, everybody, thanks for chatting with us about 12 Forever.
Mm-hmm.
I have other videos up on the channel if you want to look at those. I also talk about cartoons. I have one about She-Ra, and I have one about the Rooster Teeth animation. So those exist. You are free to look at those ones, and as well check out our podcasts on anything. If you like, Barb's here. She's my co-host, as well as one other person named Benjamin,
Mm-hmm.
who is not here. Sorry, Ben. And we are on all of the things that podcasts are on, as well as if you like Miss Mama Work. She's on Twitch and on YouTube. Miss Mama Work. It's also in our if you go to our channel, there's a the bar where you can find people I follow, and she's one of those. So look out for her stuff. But yeah, goodbye everybody.
Goodbye, everyone. Bye.